correct? And so now we'll do the, if you would stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
CFA 4 report updates.
Okay, so on the two that we mailed out, I got, Mr. Plu's back within the deadline, that we asked for. He did not believe that his report was found to be an error.
I spoke with the treasurer and
So.
he said, just throw that last page away. I said,
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I tried to explain that to him in the office, that whatever the front page has to match the preceding pages.
Right.
So if you would have left the other page off, then the report would have been accurate. If you would have flipped it, I mean, so I tried to explain that, and it didn't.
Yeah. So what Brett was trying to say is that he only itemized it, trying to be transparent, but it wasn't really an itemized, so he didn't
Right.
feel like he should put that on the summary sheet, but again, I told him the same thing.
Right.
If it's itemized on the worksheets, it's gotta be itemized on the summary sheet.
So, and like I said, moving forward, if you know, it doesn't matter which way you do it. If the front sheet has it itemized, then you have to have it itemized in the back. If the front sheet has it unitemized, the back sheet is I mean, you don't even have the back sheet. So, like I said, I tried to explain that, and.
Because the amount was under $100.
Right. It was $7.50, and he reported it on the front, not on the back. Or,
But it's been corrected.
yes, the
Okay.
report has been turned in, and it is correct. The Friends of Delphi, acknowledges that they received our letters. However, they just gave us an explanation of the receipts without the actual receipts, which is what the letter asked for. So I believe our prior discussion was that we would then now subpoena their receipts.
I'm still not even sure why we need the receipts. They have an executive, or not an executive, they have a board. Their board approved the expenditures.
I'm
And
just
as long
going
as
off
it's-
what our meeting was, you had receipts that you were interested in, I had receipts I was interested in, and that was the request. So,
Well, you can go ahead and explain. I've never understood why we needed the receipts, because the finance report was complete, it was accurate. There was just a question about an amount, but that's not within our purview anyway.
It
Again,
is.
they have the board.
if you remember, the report did not add up. The report totals did not add up. And that's why I was asking for the receipts. I mean, I'll do whatever the
Well,
board.
let me see it, because he called me and asked me, and of course, it was a month or so later, and I couldn't remember what it even said, but his explanation to me was that it appeared that it didn't add up because there was an expense to two graphics in one period that was under $100. In the next period, there was another expense that took it over $100, so he itemized that, or they, because he didn't do the report, they did. He itemized that one. So you can't include the previous one because it was unitemized, because then it throws it off, and it makes it look like there's more. And I don't know if he says it in his explanation, but he did talk to Michelle and ask for the proper way to do it. Michelle is the finance person for the school, for the public finance.
I mean, like I said, I'm just going off of the prior meeting that we said that we would ask for the receipts again, and if we did not receive them, we would subpoena their records, which as a board, we have every right to look at any receipt from any campaign if we have a question. So it is within our duties as an election board to verify items. But I will do whatever the board,
I guess where I'm at is, their board or their PAC has dissolved. They've dispensed all the money in their funds, or funds in their bank account, which is the amount that they gave back to the school.
which is what was, that is part of the explanation, that was part of the
Right.
agreement.
And,
Any funds left over would go back to the school.
I mean, we can string this out,
Like I
but I
said,
just don't understand why.
I was basing it on what the discussion was at the last meeting. We said we would send a letter asking for the receipts, and if we did not get them, we would subpoena the records. If that is not what the board wishes to do, then that is fine. I just telling you what we discussed and now where we're at, so.
So, and I know you're at a disadvantage because you weren't here before. But do you have an opinion or?
No, I have no opinion on this, so,
So my opinion is we just let it go. I mean, it's not, there's no evidence that, it doesn't look like anybody's walked away with any money that they shouldn't have gotten. And had it been a candidate that didn't have a board to check them, I mean, we've all probably been on boards, you don't just spend money without board approval. And it's a report. So I think, is it 100% accurate? Well, if you talk to him, please. He's verified that he did it correctly with Michelle. She's the expert, or at least one of them. So.
But again, you have information that I don't have. So you've talked to them outside of the board meeting, so you have information that I don't have. If
Okay.
I would have been given that information, that,
Yeah.
but I don't have
I
that
can't help
information.
who he calls. He called me to talk it over, and I said, okay, just file the amended report with the receipts or whatever you have to do, just
Which,
do what we ask you to do, and it will be done.
which they did not. The only thing they offered me was a letter. So they still didn't even comply with the original request, which, again, if you're making a motion to it to go away, then that is what I will put in the minutes.
So, I will make that motion because he is billing the school for continued working on this. And he was originally hired as a consultant to run the PAC, or not run the PAC, but run the campaign. But now he's billing for this kind of stuff. And so, I just don't want to keep stringing it out and then have the school build again.
So what is your actual motion?
I make a motion that we accept the report as presented.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You said it was, the finance, it's been dissolved?
Well, according to him,
I mean, the problem or the, committee?
the pact itself is no more. I mean, there are people that,
So if he's still billing them, they're gonna still have to report that to him. I'm just,
he's billing the school, see, the pact is what paid all of his expenses until it was dissolved. Now the school's getting billed.
okay. So he's not billing the actual.
Right, because there's no money in
Well-
this, in the pact.
But I haven't reached out to the other person, I've only reached out to the treasurer of the, which should have kept the receipts. That's the
Oh,
only,
yeah, they
that's
still
the
have to
only
do that.
communication that I have, is with Mr. Maxwell. I have not reached out to anyone else, because that's not,
Well,
you
and I
reach out
haven't
to the
either.
treasurer.
Have they filed a final? That's what I was-
Yes. They did disband. This is filed March, January 18th, so as of January 18th, they were disbanded.
So I guess bills coming in afterwards are going to have to be on that. I don't know that, but it's something that I think you should check out. I mean, if they're still getting bills, you probably should go through there, but I don't know that. I'm just making comment.
Are these the same type of, are the paperwork, or is the paperwork for this kind of thing the same type of paperwork for candidates and everything
Yeah,
else?
it's the same.
Then, in my opinion, means whatever, you're setting a bad precedent. Because if I can outweigh the board, then my problem as a candidate would then go away.
I think they fixed the problem. Or they've got
They've
a okay
explained,
problem to the state.
but
I don't know.
I don't,
I don't know.
Is it Dave Maxwell billing the school?
no,
Who is it?
I forget his name now, Steve something.
Oh, Clink? Clink is doing it?
Yeah, so his organization. And I've not seen any receipts or bill for that, that's just what he said on the phone.
Yeah. He received money to do this from the school corporation.
No, from the PAC.
No, he received money from the school corporation as well.
Oh, okay.
And the PAC made money as well. Yeah. But he was paid by the school corporation. So,
Sorry, I just kept talking. Let me catch up here. Your motion was to accept what we've been given in the report as submitted. Is that right?
And again, it's because he provided an explanation of, he said he didn't need to, there was no need to change the report, but he did provide an explanation. So we need a second, then we go forwards.
Yeah, we just, what's clerk's, what do you think on this?
I think it goes back to the same thing that we are holding Mr. Clue's feet to the fire on. The front and the back don't match. And whether it's a mathematical error or not, your numbers back here, you take what you've already paid, and then you keep adding to that if it's the same, like Q Graphics. If it's the same entity, you keep adding to it, so that you know from the beginning how much you paid them to the end, their final, and those numbers do not, they don't add up.
No, I thought you said it was corrected.
No,
No, we didn't
they've
correct
never
the report.
submitted a corrected
Can I say it
version.
again? Cause I'm trying to figure,
They gave a letter of explanation as to where the money went. which is not exactly the same as seeing the receipt to see what monies was spent.
But actually, if he came in and fixed that, you would need to see the receipt.
Correct. One way or the other. I mean, we asked for the receipts, but if he would've, obviously he's spoken to Ms. Drew, so if he would've taken Drew's suggestion and just fixed it, then it would've been, but he didn't do either. He didn't do either thing that was asked. So I but I agree, what we do for one candidate, we need to do for everyone, no matter what group they are, no matter who influence they have, whatever, you do for one, you do for all. And it's not fair that we sent something to Mr. Clue, making him correct something, and we're just now, because they've denied 2 letters that we've sent, and they still haven't done what we've asked them to do. Whether they believe we are entitled to see those receipts or not, does not matter. We are entitled as a board, we can ask every single candidate for every single receipt that they have. And it may not actually just be Q graphics, I don't remember which ones we had
Bear with me
an
because
issue with.
it doesn't appear that what he said the issue was and what you're saying the issue is are the same thing, so. So what he was trying to tell me was that it was this cumulative the column for the cumulative, which is the ongoing.
And that one should keep increasing, even if
Right.
even if the initial,
But I see
you
now
don't
what
put
you're
it on
saying.
there, you don't put that initial on there, okay, but once you hit that $100 threshold, then it needs to be on the cumulative,
Yes,
total,
it's hard to say.
yes.
So who filed that? Did the treasurer file it or did Josh?
That's the trick, we're talking about the Friends of Delphi,
Oh.
Josh is good, which we do need to vote on that as well.
So he did fix this?
Yes,
Oh, okay, that's what I,
sorry, that was the first one we handled,
okay,
his was,
yeah.
he filed it in the 10-day time period, and
Well, for me, I guess I don't have enough facts and information to provide a second for this motion. I don't know what the board wants to do. I don't think I want to second the motion until we get more information.
So what part of this, Sharon, are you saying is different? I see,
I would have to look at it again, I mean, it's been
it says
2
on the
months.
front sheet, $11,050.19, and the total on the final sheet here is $11,050.19.
Yeah, without going back over it, I really don't remember, it's been 2 months. I
Is that-
just know at the time,
Yeah, that's why I'm looking over it.
at
So
the
it's
time,
first
we had the same concern at the January
See,
meeting.
that's the total of the 3 expenditure pages, and that's the itemized, right there, itemized, it's the same amount. So if that number and that number or different, then yeah, there's something wrong with it. I'm not really,
But you just don't have the receipts. Is that what-
well, she had asked for the receipts because she said there was a difference. I don't see a difference, so I'm not seeing it, so. If she finds that and points that out, I'd be glad to see it.
And like I said, I don't recall what exactly you were. Now I'm not seeing what we originally found in January of 18, or January 18th. I don't remember enough to, I just know that we both had a concern and the board voted unanimously, so.
I don't remember ever seeing a problem. You had pointed it out, and I said, okay, let's just ask you.
I'm not able to locate what I was, but like I said, it has been 2 months, and when we were going over it, it was all fresh in our minds, and now it's not, so.
If I saw a difference in what was on the sheets in the back from the front, I would definitely say, okay, it needs to be changed, but I don't see anything that needs to be changed, and therefore I don't see a reason to have receipts. So, on the motions.
Both figures match. I mean,
I showed you 11,000, 13, or whatever it was.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Those opposed, I was straight through that.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
And we do need a motion, which I will make a motion to accept, the corrected CFA 4 report for Mr. Blue.
Second that, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Okay, I did. Okay, that was all.
Is that all for CFA?
Yes.
Okay.
So, future notification protocol, I am in a quandary. I'm being accused of things that are not proper, that I'm not handling things proper, I'm not treating people equal, and I take offense to that. I have now done in my office, 3 different people handle all the outgoing mail for candidates, Republican group, Democrat group, whatever it is, if it's election related, and it's a notice, 3 people in my office are handling that. I'm getting accused of nitpicking, and at at this point, I'm ready to say, I'm not notifying anybody anymore of anything. The board can come in and you guys can do it. That way, everybody knows it's going out, because apparently, I'm not sending stuff out.
So just to clarify, because I've questioned whether stuff went out, but I never said anything about them.
No,
So I wanted to make sure it was.
it is not you.
Okay.
I mean, this last time when we were sending out letters, I produced the letters, which are very similar to this one. I signed the letters, and I handed them off to my first clerk. My first clerk did all the labels, put them in the envelopes, and handed them to my second deputy. My second deputy put the stamps on them, walked them over to the post office, and handed them to the postmaster.
I guess I'm in the dark. Are you in the dark?
Well, I'm not naming names, I'm not going to name names.
So we'll say a candidate, how's that?
A candidate has accused me of not mailing anything, no information to them, and trying to stick it to them.
So there were two mailings the last time,
But what kind of mailings? Is
for
it-
financial reports. They didn't
Stuff
have,
that, yeah,
or
Okay.
in these
like
two
we were,
instances.
the receipts,
Okay.
or, you know,
I got you.
fixing this or fixing
Right.
that.
So-
I had to mail out 7
Okay.
initial letters,
So a candidate said that they never got the first letter,
and never got the second one as well.
and they didn't get the second one, they were only notified, someone said something after it was posted in the paper, that, hey, you're getting hammered in the paper again about your finance report, and so they went to the post office master and asked, and the postmaster said, nothing has come to your mailbox that I've had to reject because you didn't sign for it. But it wasn't sent certified mail either.
Just barely in
It
there.
was just regular
So-
mail.
Okay, I just wanted to know what the
So, I
gist
mean,
of it was. I
if,
don't wanna know who or what, I
it's,
just didn't
it's
know
going
what.
to be very expensive if I send everything out by certified mail. It's almost $7, and it could be one sheet of paper, that's $7.
And we had discussed this before because of the cost. But then after receiving a call from the candidate, they pointed out, well, I have 5 days, but how do you know when I received the paper? Because we're not sending it certified mail. So there's the problem with that. So yes, there's a cost, but it's a whole lot cheaper than an attorney for if we get sued.
So everything I mail out to candidates from now
I'm
on.
not saying that, I'm just,
I mean, what I do
I'm-
for one, though, I have to do for all.
Exactly.
And this particular person doesn't believe that. This person was specifically said in my office, you have seen me out and around and about. You should have reminded me or told me that something was coming. Exact words in my office.
so, and I've given,
I don't know what more I can do to keep it a level playing field. I do for one what I do for all.
okay. So I've given thought to this because I fully understand the cost. And that's why originally we said, let's not do certified mail for the cost. But then you have the legal aspect that you can't prove that you ever got the letter if you don't. So we sent 2 mailings this time. How much, I don't know how to put this. If we sent the first mailing, say you had 7. Sent the first mailing, first class mail, no certification, maybe you get 5 of those back without needing to address it. And then if you don't get the other 2, or whatever, back, you send those certified mail saying, we need to know for sure that they got this. So then, in that scenario, we say $35 a mailing. In the grand scheme of things, $35 again. If we issue a fine and they hire an attorney out of principle to sue us, that's gonna be a lot more expensive than $35. But I think my recommendation is a compromise between the two. It's a little more work, I acknowledge that, but what do you think of that?
I mean, you know, statute, I'm not even required to send anything. So for me to even send anything regular mail is above and beyond what we're required to do. So at what point do we continue to hold hands?
Well, we do have to send something, cause,
You have to let them know about the hearing.
yeah, cause there has to be
If it's,
notification.
yes,
Yeah.
if we have a hearing, notification by certified mail for a hearing. But we weren't having a hearing, we were just asking for them to correct it, which
Can I
we
make a
could have done a
suggestion?
hearing.
What about sending an email with a delivery receipt?
If I have emails, I would be happy to do that.
Surely.
I've left phone messages for some
But they're on
candidates.
a lot of times they're on their candidacy forms. Yeah.
CFA three is aimed for, all have the, should have emails on it. Should be
I mean-
required.
I mean,
That wouldn't cost you, and you could just copy it off and when you get
As
your
long,
delivery
as long as
receipt.
what we're doing for one, we do for all,
Yeah,
I'm on board with that.
well, I like that suggestion, cause it doesn't cost anything.
The only thing is, we would have to be diligent in the office to make sure that we have an email, cause not everyone puts an email on their filing paperwork. We do have a few that don't have it on there, so I guess we can just kinda make them, maybe word it in a way that your notifications, should we need to notify you, will come by email?
And so if there's not an email on there, say, well, if you don't have an email address, do you have an email address for somebody that could receive this for you? Because you're gonna get notifications via email, and if you don't, we don't have an email for you, you're not gonna get those notifications. And you are putting it back on the candidate at that point, because you're saying, if you're late, we're gonna notify you by email, but if you don't give us an email, then,
And that would be except for if we're setting a hearing. Because by statute, I have to send it if it's a hearing, then we do have to send that a different way.
so I'll make a motion that we change the notification, procedures to include email rather than mailing. It's gonna be faster anyway.
No,
Some
your
people, they
delivery.
don't check their
And-
email.
I would say
and-
delivery receipt.
Well, yeah, I will. And if there's no email, what would,
Then it'll go, well, if there's no email, then first class mailing would be.
I would suggest, as a, trying to be a public servant, that when you do sign that, and if it does say optional, but just tell them
yeah,
that
and,
you're gonna get all your notifications by email, please put your email address.
and that's what we can do moving forward, but I just know we've got some
Right.
over there right now
Yeah,
that I do not have
that's gonna get
emails for.
fewer.
So
All your cell
I-
phones have to have, when you set them up, it has to have an email on it, email, so.
I mean, everyone's moving to, I mean, they even notify you of jury duty by email, or by text message.
Well, and I was just gonna
So-
say that, if they have,
Well, they have their cell phone number.
yeah,
on
if
there.
the phone number is on there, you could text them as well if they don't provide an email address. So I make a motion that the clerk's office make every effort to notify via electronic messaging of some sort.
I'll second that motion.
In the end times on that. And then,
so there was some discussion on where the political signs are placed in the city. I did talk prior to the discussion actually coming out, and there was an article in the paper. I actually spoke with the chief of police, and he said there is something on the books, that he has spoken with the street department prior, when he first took over, so 4 years ago, or so, that they will not enforce it, provided that the signs are not in a vision, blocking vision.
What about Camden? What about Florida? What
I,
about Burlington?
I was not asked.
The public statement, however, was just that it was okay to put it in public right of way. That was true for Delphi.
I didn't give
I
any.
saw the post.
I know, I didn't give anything, information to Debbie, other than she asked a question. I walked over to the chief of police and asked him, and walked back to Debbie and told her what I was told.
So the Facebook is a public forum, so you made a public statement, identified yourself as an election board official, and so you made a public official statement on behalf of our board that was inaccurate.
No.
It was accurate for Delphi, but you didn't specify that in the statement. Therefore, what happens when someone in Florida puts it, there's an ordinance that they can't do that, or Florida,
I don't, what did I put on Facebook?
that it was okay to put it in public right of way. But you didn't specify it was a city of Delphi, so Zionsville, I know it's not a county, but just as an example, they have an ordinance that no signs are allowed in the city, and that has to be, state code allows for it for the election. So it's in their ordinance that it's temporarily rescinded during that period. But what if Delphi had, or not Delphi, but what if Florida had something like that? I don't know if they did. I didn't know that Delphi did. So that's why I reached out to the mayor, which is the authority over that. She said she didn't know. She couldn't find it, because I looked through the code, I didn't see anything. I asked her, she said, Drew, I looked through it, I didn't find anything. And she contacted their attorney, which pointed back to the brochure that all candidates should review, by the way, because it's got a lot of good information about signage and whatnot. Which specifically says, and there's a code that's outside of the election code. It's in a different chapter, it's regarding state highways, that specifically says the NDOT is responsible to remove signs that are in the right of way.
Right.
It does, on a state
On
highway.
a state highway.
But it also extends to the city, townships, and county, that they are the authority and they can make those decisions.
Right.
So as a board, I think we need to take a step back, and I've been guilty of it in the past, being too involved in these things.
I don't have a problem with where any of the signs are.
Exactly,
I was asked a question, and I
Yeah.
answered that question.
but my
I don't
point
remember
is you
having
did it
anything
public.
on Facebook that said anything about putting signs, you could put signs. I don't
Well,
remember.
I don't have that printed out,
I
but
mean,
I'm just
I
saying.
remember something being in the paper, but I don't recall
Well,
me putting anything on Facebook, because I would not have,
what the paper
Put
had
that on
was
Facebook.
almost verbatim what the post was, so.
I think you did.
I did.
I think you did.
So I'm just saying that,
And did I not reference Mr. McCain?
I don't
I
remember, I just
don't
remember.
know, because
think you
I
did.
didn't know about
Okay.
that until after you had said something.
Okay.
So it's not our job, our responsibility to notify candidates of what they can and can't do. The state code says that they should contact the appropriate office, the city, town, street department, county highway department, or state department of transportation for assistance. So, again, it's the candidate's responsibility that if they put their sign where they're not supposed to, they should have gone and asked the authority. I don't know that the board should get involved in saying you can do this, or even that you can't do this. So if they come to the clerk's office, or they come to one of us and they say, can I put my sign on this corner? Well, that's within the city of Delphi, you need to go talk to the mayor's office. So that was my only thing, is that we're gonna get in the weeds if we start making public
I had someone
statements.
call me and ask me about why the clerk's office had told them, or said, if you have a sign in your yard that you did not give permission to, please contact the clerk's office.
Yes.
And I think that's just asking for trouble.
Well,
Well,
and
but if
I'm
you're a
sure-
resident and you don't know what the rules are,
I know that,
that's
and
why
what
I
I was
put
trying to
that.
say is, it's more work for you.
Right.
You know, if you don't have a written complaint, then there's no reason to even respond.
And basically, if a sign is put in your yard and you own the property, you remove the sign.
Yeah.
And as I said in the email that I sent, I would hope that you'd save the sign, because they're expensive, and say, hey, such and such, would you please, I didn't give permission to put the sign in my yard, you can have the sign back if you come get it. That's what NDOT does, they keep it, they don't throw it away.
They don't contact you though.
No.
I will tell you that.
So-
Long time ago, they just put them over there, but they put them on the outside of the fence so you could go pick them up.
So within our responsibilities, our job is to make sure that it's being done equitably. So there's the corner over here, Prince William and Washington Street. Political signs are put out there all the time, that's a public right of way. If there were 3 signs there, but then the city took down one of the signs because they didn't want it there, that's where we come in. And we say, you've allowed these, you have to allow them all.
Like I said, I have people calling and asking, there's a sign showed up in my yard, what do I do with it?
These contacts, you know.
So, but if they
Well,
don't
I
know the
don't even think-
candidate,
They don't even,
I mean, that's what I'm saying,
the name's on the sign.
but that doesn't mean you know how to contact
Oh,
them.
that's true.
I
No,
mean, not
I would
everyone has
just
a
tell them,
landline, you can't pick up a phone book and look through the phone book,
I would just tell them
So-
to you can remove the sign,
and that's
try to make contact with the candidate and ask them to come get the sign.
what I told them.
So, but I think, I mean, you hear all the time how busy your office is, so the more of that stuff you can push off the city and townships and the county and the state, the better, because they're the responsible party. I question whether the space between the sidewalk and the road, that's a public right of way. The attorney, at least for Delphi, the attorney said, we've always given the responsibility of maintaining that to the homeowner. And so we would have no problem with the homeowner deciding whether the sign is put there. She said it's the way it's always been. But again, that's only for the city of Delphi, maybe Flora or Burlington, maybe they're different.
And I guess my misunderstanding, or, the city of Delphi is the only one putting signs out, because they're the only ones that have a ballot outside of Camden.
Right.
So, in my mind, when I was putting that information out there,